Hello, my name is Ben.
And my name's Josh.
And welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video where today we're going to be going through replacements for Salah and Son. As we know, they've both gone off to their respective international tournaments during January. We're going to talk through some of the replacements you should be considering for your FPL teams.
Okay, so yeah, as Ben mentioned, Salah and Son, two real favourites in FPL at the moment. Two players who are on really good form that a lot of players have, but obviously they'll be missing for the next few game weeks. Salah, for me, probably one of the best assets to own so far this season. Likewise with Son, to be honest. They've been really good, but who are we going to replace them with? And what's the situation maybe with potentially Manchester City assets going forward, Ben? And who are you looking towards the replacements?
Yeah, so replacements wise, if you don't own Jarrod Bowen, I say he is the sort of key one to get. Good fixtures and decent form. Obviously, that's going to be impacted by the fact that Kudus isn't in the team, and there's sort of a couple of players missing there, like Paqueta. That's going to impact him. But Jarrod Bowen is the main man up top, potentially on penalties as well, with two very decent fixtures coming up. So if you don't have him, that's probably a priority transfer in. But as sort of a lot of FPL managers know, they may already have Jarrod Bowen. He is quite a popular pick at the moment with FPL managers before this game week has even happened. So a lot of managers do have him. He's already gone up in price, probably due to go up maybe another once or even twice more before the game week deadline. So Jarrod Bowen for me is probably the number one pick as a replacement.
Someone else who you might want to consider as well is probably Bukayo Saka. Obviously, a lot of managers own him, nearly at 60% ownership at the time of recording. But if you don't have him, and understandably so, he's been sort of maybe off the boil compared to seasons gone by where he's potentially, been hauling. This season, not so much. He's almost been like sort of ticking by like the 7 points that we saw against Fulham last game week. Obviously, Arsenal failed to win in their last 5 fixtures, which is not ideal, but they do have two relatively better fixtures in the next 2 game weeks. Crystal Palace is not necessarily a terrible fixture at the moment. Obviously, Roy Hodgson has been struggling a little bit there. And then Nottingham Forest as well. Obviously, they do have Nuno there now, which is sort of brought that sort of new manager bounce. But I wouldn't really be too scared of Forest at the moment. So 2 decent fixtures there. Bukayo Saka, what's your thoughts on him, Ben? Do you think he's a good option if you say you don't own him at the moment? Would you choose him or Bowen?
Yeah, I think he's a decent option. I think also a lot of FPL managers have him like Bowen. These first 2 options might not be sort of necessarily relevant to those people that do have him. But if you don't have him, I think it's pretty sensible to own him. He's going to go up in ownership and is a genuine captaincy option for this game week coming up. So I definitely have him in your considerations. If you've not got him, look to try and get him in. He's been pretty consistent, not as explosive this season, but still really consistent, sort of considering the price point. Okay, so a player who's come up in my thoughts as a replacement is Richarlison. A lot of managers singled him out a couple of weeks ago as their sort of go-to replacement, and I think this is still a good option. In the last 5 fixtures, he's returned 4 times, including that 15-point haul against Newcastle. So I do think he is a really decent option. He's going to be up front for Spurs. He's going to be on penalties. In terms of the fixtures coming up, Manchester United away is seen as a red on the fixture difficulty. I don't think it's a red for attacking players. And then they've got Brentford at home. Brentford, who have been awful over the last few weeks defensively and are missing key players as well, albeit Tony is coming back to fitness. And then Everton away. Again, Everton aren't defensively really, really secure against the top teams. We've seen them concede against Manchester City. We've seen them concede a load of goals in the last couple of weeks as well. So I do think Richarlison is a great pick to go for. The fixtures in the long term are pretty decent as well. And if he can sort of play really well over this period without Son, he could nail down a starting spot in that Spurs team for the long term.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all those points. And like you mentioned, sort of his minutes aren't necessarily been assured in those last 4 to 5 game weeks, 70, 60s, 80 minutes in the most recent fixture. But I think obviously with Son missing, sort of limits their choices in that attacking 4 that they have. James Maddison's obviously not any closer to returning to fitness. We definitely don't think it will be anytime soon. Potential for him to be on penalties as well. Obviously with Son not being there. I think Spurs are still waiting for their first penalty this season, though. So whether you get one or not in those upcoming 4 game weeks, we'll have to wait and see. Our next pick as a potential replacement is going to be a team sake replacement. Diogo Jota, 7.7 million. Obviously, just come back from injury, so minutes are not necessarily assured at the moment, but there is limited replacements for Mo Salah as well. Obviously, Jota, really, really clinical. I'd say he's probably the most clinical out of those Liverpool attackers outside of Mo Salah. And some decent fixtures for Liverpool coming up. They've got Bournemouth away at this week, which isn't too bad. Bournemouth defensively do tend to concede goals, although they have been really good so far this season, Bournemouth. Obviously, Chelsea and Arsenal in the following game weeks, which I don't think are bad fixtures, especially for Liverpool at the moment, who are in unbelievable form. Obviously, only lost once this season, and that being Tottenham away, where obviously there was all that controversy surrounding that fixture. What's your thoughts on him, Ben? Do you think he's a decent option, and would he be your go-to Liverpool man outside of Salah?
Yeah, I mean, the only sort of thing is the minutes risk with him coming back from injury, but he is one of the only players that can play right wing. I think him, Harvey Elliott are probably competing, and I'd back Jota to probably get more minutes than him and to at least get the start. So I can see probably 60, 65 minutes over the next two. Obviously, he's sort of only played 32 or so minutes since his injury and since he's come back. But in terms of attacking the fixtures, Liverpool's fixtures, again, aren't too bad at all. And over the next few game weeks, you can see quite a few goals coming from Liverpool as well. So I'd definitely have that in your considerations as a replacement. Okay, so if you really want to attack the fixtures, my recommendation here would be Pascal Gross, because Brighton's fixtures are seriously tasty coming up. They've got Wolves at home, Luton away, Palace at home, and then they've got Spurs away, and then a run of Sheffield United, Everton, Fulham, and Forest before game week 29. So if you're looking at a medium to long-term pick, Pascal Gross could be fantastic value for money. Could also be on penalties, is on set pieces for Brighton as well. I think for the price tag, 6.4 million, he could be a bargain. Obviously, when João Pedro is off the pitch, there's always that potential of getting those penalties. So I do think fixtures, maybe not the form, but if you're attacking the fixtures, I think Pascal Gross could be a fantastic option to go for.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think he was really unlucky not to return against West Ham the other night with 0.62 XG, two pretty much like one-on-one headers that were saved by Areola. So he was unlucky there. But yeah, I think if I was going for any sort of Brighton attacker, especially like you said, with that fixture run, I think he'd be that guy just because of the minutes that you're assured with the likes of maybe like someone like João Pedro or Evan Ferguson. You're just not assured those minutes as much as you are with Pascal Gross, despite him playing a little bit deeper. But yeah, really nice pick for the fixtures. Okay, so our sixth replacement and probably our final replacement in this video is going to be Alejandro Garnacho. This is someone who potentially, if you're looking to try and get Erling Haaland back in for game week 21 and you need someone who's really cheap, sort of to try and keep it within 2 free transfers maybe, this guy could be your man. Only 4.8 million, which is the massive selling point here with Garnacho. I know Manchester United have not scored crazy amounts of goals this season, but obviously, they've had a lot of injuries so far this season, and with the likes of Martinez, Casemiro coming back in mid-January, hopefully for the Spurs fixture that they have straight away, I think we'll see a much better United team that can progress the ball up the field a lot better, because that's the main issue that they've had so far, is not being able to get the ball into these attacking areas. Garnacho's played over 70 minutes in their last 9 game weeks as well, so the minutes are there with him, and I think if you look at United, when you watch them as well, eye test wise, he's definitely their best attacker at the moment. He looks like the guy who's going to do the most. Obviously, got the assist against Forest, got those 2 goals against Aston Villa as well. What's your thoughts on him, Ben? Say if you were doing like maybe Salah and forward, with Haaland and the Garnacho, would you look at this guy as maybe an option?
Yeah, I think he's a good enabler for those who don't have Haaland in their team yet at 4.8 million, and also enables you to potentially own Haaland, Salah, and Son once they're all back for the long term. So it might be worth sort of investing now before he goes up in price in the next few game weeks, because I anticipate by game week 25, 26, when we're seeing the return of Son and Salah, it's going to be Garnacho that's going to be transferred in to make these and facilitate the transfers back in for this for the big players. So I do think he's a decent option as a facilitator over the next few game weeks. But obviously, there's so much budget at the moment for all FPL managers. It's always tempting to go for the players that are a little bit more expensive. Okay, so finally, we're going to talk about Phil Foden and more in general about Manchester City assets. A lot of the key FPL assets are coming back to full fitness. Doku, Haaland, etc. And this could impact Phil Foden going forwards. But I do think as a short-term pick, it is still a great option. Newcastle away, first of all, and Newcastle haven't looked great at all. Burnley at home and Brentford away, and of course Everton at home as well. But we know over the next 2 or 3 game weeks, Phil Foden should be assured of minutes until, you know, Haaland, De Bruyne, Doku are all back to full fitness. So as a short-term pick, I think Foden's a really explosive and really exciting pick, but there's always going to be that minutes risk going forwards.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Obviously, over the next couple of weeks, he should be okay for minutes. You'd like to think that they're not going to rush De Bruyne straight into that team. I think De Bruyne sort of affects Alvarez's minutes a lot as well. So there's potential for him to sort of lose minutes if you own him. But like you say, Foden in the last 3 game weeks been Mr. Consistent, just getting some nice returns on the board. He's been in really good form. I think that Everton game, he played really, really well. So yeah, if you own him at the moment, he's definitely not a sell, but just be on the side of caution if you're looking at bringing him in, because there is a genuine chance that there could be significant rotation in that City team now they have all their attacking assets back. Okay, so that wraps up this video of us talking about who are the best replacements for Mohamed Salah and Heung-min Son. Let us know what your transfer plans are. Obviously, there's still a while to go, about a week to go until the deadline. So I wouldn't make those transfers just yet. We've got FA Cup games and a lot of midweek games to sort of factor into our thoughts. So yeah, hold the transfers for now, but it's good to have sort of an idea of what you want to do going forward.
And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.